Hello. What this video is about to be is a +6 run of Waycrest Manor during the first week of Mythic Plus, multi-boxed. In this run, I am going to be using my team, which consists of a Blood Death Knight, a Resto Druid, and 3 Beast Mastery Hunters. For anybody who's thinking about taking up Trinity compositions in multi-boxing, I'd recommend this is a really solid composition. This run's a little bit wonky, it's not a perfect run. By no means is it a perfect run, but I think it demonstrates some of the advantages of the composition. Very mobile, not really fussed by mechanics. The Blood Death Knight really shines during this run. He's got a good moment during it, and it just makes a nice all-round, easy to use composition for taking on some of these Mythic Plus dungeon keys. So here we go into Waycrest Manor. This was done in the very first week of Mythic Plus. For people in the future, that week was a Fortified, Sanguine, and something that isn't relevant. So this is a Fortified Sanguine key. This is on +6. Waycrest Manor is probably the easiest. Actually, scratch that. Waycrest Manor is definitely the easiest of the fortified dungeons to run. Absolutely was happy pushing keys in this dungeon. As I go in here, I'm going to look to the left, I'm going to look to the right, and I'm looking to see whether any of those two doors are open. The fact that neither of those two doors are open means that I know that upstairs is the route. I know I have to pull these guys because these guys will aggro if I walk up the stairs, so I kill them down here when there's plenty of space so that the sanguine pulls don't cause me any problems. I don't want the sanguine pulls getting on the stairs, causing damage to my guys go through it. This is just a lot cleaner. Up I go, and I head towards the first boss, which is Heartsbane Triad. Before I hit those guys, there is going to be a pair of guys patrolling on this little balcony here. What I'm going to do, once again, this is a sanguine thing, I'm going to pull them back. I'm positioning my range stack about there, and then pulling these with the tank away from the range stack, both facing away and in a position where the range stack do not have to walk through the sanguine pools that are going to end up spawning to go down the stairs that I need to go to hit Heartsbane Triad. Not only that, this Enthralled Guard is probably the more dangerous of the two mobs. The Shadow Cleave ability he uses actually does a lot of damage on Fortified. I want to make sure that's pointing away from the range stack and only the tank is taking it. Nice and happy so far. Here I have a little bit of a goof. Look, Light's Judgment goes off and suddenly the Blight Toads all go on the range stack. This is messy because I don't want to just charge over and kill them because they'll cause a sanguine pool. Clean it up a little bit. The tank's taken a bit of damage here. The Drain Essence, I'm waiting for it to charge through the pools, but the Drain Essence goes off and she begins casting there. I should have used Death Grip there to pull her out immediately. Maybe could have saved sort of 10 or so seconds there while she was just stood in a pool. But hey, no real harm done there. I'm going to go and clear both sides. Something that's true for Waycrest Manor is, unlike most of the dungeons, hitting the trash requirements is a thing that you need to care about. In most of the dungeons, if you just clear the trash that you have to clear and skip as much as you can, you'll still hit 100%. It's possible to finish the end boss only on about 70% trash or something if you're being crazy trying to skip everything you can. So I consciously do have to kill a bunch of things. So I am throughout this run going to prioritize killing some packs of trash that I don't need to kill, but I need to kill some of them, and it just is safe to do so. If I don't kill both those packs, then I will inevitably aggro them in this fight, which is Heartsbane Triad, and this is a tough fight. I drink with the Druid before to gain a bit of mana, because I know I very well might need it. So we start on Sister Selena. I'm going to use Bloodlust because I want to get through this as quickly as possible. This fight is very sensitive to gear. Being able to get through the phases quickly reduces the amount of abilities you've got to take and makes it much easier. Soul Manipulation goes off. I should have stunned it, the Bright Shot there as quickly as I could. Because I missed that stun there, she's used an aspect of the turtle. which means I can't hurt her, and I have to stop damaging the boss because I don't want to move into the next phase while somebody's still mind control, because that'll go really badly. So that costs a bit of time, and people have taken a bit of damage there. And then we hit Sister Malady. Sister Malady is by far the hardest of the sisters. I spread out there because she's about to do Unstable Runic Mark. This is the most dangerous ability of the fight. This is the most dangerous ability of the dungeon. Huge amounts of damage going out. Have to spread out. You also should try and keep moving as much as you can in that fight. It's a little bit difficult to coordinate. I think I can come up with a better positioning strategy here. Once you've gotten through that, you've got this bit here. I use Tranquility because I'm very worried about the damage output there. I think that was a little bit of an overreaction. I'm going to need Tranquility in a second, so it really was an overreaction. Instead, I probably should just have thrown a Swift Mend on Judgment Bolt. That's not heads-up play. The healer's taken a bunch of damage here as we enter this phase. This is a really nasty phase to go into where you're not on full hit points because the aura stops the amount of healing going out. However, there's no real damage going out. The soul manipulation is awkward. This is where the problem is. I'm not high enough on the health bars. Healers working from behind here. Tranquility would be great here, but it's gone. And suddenly everybody's taken a bunch of damage. Yeah, this was avoidable. When this big surge of damage comes through, suddenly the healer's dead. And this is a bit panicky. Only one boss left. Got to get through the last 20%. Is she going to kill me before then? Oh, one down. Then the computer locks up, and that's a very stressful moment. And then I realise Light's Judgment's on cooldown, and boom. Oh, that's satisfying. Okay, that was a little messier than it should have been. Clearly, I did not handle my cooldowns correctly. I should have used a single target cooldown when that damage spike happened in the second phase 1, so that Tranquility was available later on. I also don't have a bunch of things keybound on this team. This team is a little bit of a work in progress. I'm just kind of completing Mythic plus keys and able to do it, so I'm kind of saying my setup's good enough, but really I should sit down and sort this out, and I probably will do this week on Tyrannical Week. This is a mistake. I should not have pulled those guys. I forgot that Heartsbane Vine Twister was going to turn up. This turns the trash pool into something that's manageable, into something that's a little bit of a panic. I'm also targeting the wrong guy here. I want to kill anybody other than the captain. The Enthralled Guard is doing the Shadow Cleave, which is a lot of damage, as we discussed before. The Vine Twister does all sorts of things that are really nasty, including those casts that you really want to interrupt because they stun somebody, and I'm not interrupting and I'm not dispelling it because I'm not very good when I'm very tired. I should mention, if you look at the time in the bottom left-hand corner, this was done literally about 4 hours before the key reset. This was done about 2 in the morning, and I was incredibly tired. I'm going to blame that for a number of the mistakes that I'm going to end up making in this run. It's been okay so far. That was a bit of a mistake. It's been okay. I mean, it was a bit of a fumble on Heartsbane Triad, but this is a reasonable run so far. There's going to be mistakes coming up. I'm finally interrupting one of those casts, and yeah, what I'm doing here, this I should have done without either of the other two guys there, so there's much less damage intake. Would have been much cleaner. Probably wouldn't have been any faster at all. The way I did it probably wasn't any faster at all, because of the Sanguine affixes causing all sorts of extra damage that I didn't really need to do. I pulled this guy back, and I'm really nervous about fighting these guys in this hallway. This is a really tricky trash pull. It's not going to look like it. I'm actually going to handle this really well. But this can, if you walk forward into that chamber, there's a patrol that goes up and down the stairs, and there's a couple of trash packs that are quite nearby. It's very easy to accidentally pull multiple trash packs here, and that goes really south really quickly. You pull 2 of these guys and it's a panic. You pull 3 of these guys and it's a wipe. The Shadow Cleave damage is too much. You might be able to survive it a little bit with stuns, but look how much damage these guys are taking on a +6 key. This guy isn't sitting in a Sanguine pool. He is taking this much damage. What are we doing? Well, doing 8.5k. Like, that's a reasonable damage output. The mobs don't die instantly, particularly the captains. Again, really nervous about moving into that area. Also, don't want any Sanguine pools to form in that area. You'll notice that all these pools, I'm trying to think about when these guys die, where is a Sanguine pool going to be? I don't want to have to drag my guys through it. The Sanguine pools stack now in BFA. That means that they are really nasty if a bunch of guys die on top of each other. And literally your guys will die before you manage to run through it. It's not even you take a tick of damage, you'll die. Take out the guard though, and then the captain, who's got tons and tons and tons of health. I stun him there for no reason whatsoever. I'm not going to lose here. Interrupt the spirited defense and eventually get him down. Fortified. That really is the limit here. I mean, I whiff on a couple of the bosses here, as you're about to see. But really, I don't make any tragic mistakes here. The real thing that's stopping me making the timer is the fact that it takes so long to plow through the trash. I suppose I could be taking more aggressive pulls, but then managing these sanguine stacks is really hard on a multi-box. It's annoying, but annoying doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, annoying but you get it done. Annoying in this case means like slow, which is bad for getting the keys done. These jagged hands are really annoying because they die really quickly, even on this difficulty. But the sanguine pulls are annoying. They will be annoying on anything like bursting, sanguine, anything where when they die they do something. They're going to be annoying. I kill them all in a stack here, try and get this Thorn Shaper out of it. I actually whiff here. You'll note that won't be able to see it in a second actually because I think it doesn't cause a problem. But there, you see the knockback? What I really should have is I should have my guy spread here. She casts a spell called Uproot, which causes that explosion of vines underneath a random target. I do not believe it's able to be dodged. Even if you're like in full motion, it's gonna hit the target that gets cast at. It's not interruptible. It's damage, and it can knock you back into the sanguine pools. This is why that original volley of dogs, the very first volley of dogs, I pulled them all the way back into the previous room. Because I know I need the space so that if somebody gets hit with Uproot, see a spread here, if somebody gets Uproot, I don't get knocked into the sanguine pools. You could question my choice of position here for Aurora Shot. Actually, if Uproot gets cast on her, she's in danger of getting knocked into that sanguine pool. Now, a bug hits, and it's super annoying, and this causes me to make a mistake. You see that purple circle? You're about to see it again? That's actually because Matron Alma has been pulled from beneath the floor. Look, you can see her bar there. She's underneath the floor and she's aggroed on me, and she's going to cast spells and they're going to do damage, and it's super annoying. And there it goes again. Here, I panic. I spread to mitigate the damage, but then I see the healer charge towards me, so I run away from the healer, realizing all too quickly, oops, that was a terrible idea. I've just pulled the other pack and now I'm in trouble. The damage coming out here is pretty high, so I'm killing the Thorn Shapers here. I'm targeting down the Thorn Shapers. I've got a little bit of presence of mind to do that. Try my best to keep everybody alive, moving people out of various bad stuff that I notice. The tank goes into purgatory here, but a good timed Death Strike gets him out of it, and he survives a little bit longer just to take down that Thorn Shaper. As soon as that Thorn Shaper's down, I'm not going to take down the Matron, so I immediately stop trying and I dive into a sanguine pool, into the fire, and it's not doing any damage, so into a sanguine pool and just wipe as quickly as possible because it's just going to be slow and painful. So that was a wipe. That was partially due to the bug between the floor, but I absolutely shouldn't have panicked there. I shouldn't have run away. It would have been, I needed to have a little bit more presence of mind, not to dodge into the other pack. It's small mistakes like that that I think I'm having to eliminate from my play in order to make the timers on these fortified keys. That's the sort of mistake that ends up costing you. At this stage, up until this point, I thought, maybe I've got an outside shot at making the timer here. At this stage, I've kind of given up. Or kind of know I'm up against the wall anyway. You'll notice that Matron Brindle has gone blue. This is because of the Thorn Shapers. They use an ability, I think it's called Soul Effigy. They cast it, and when they die, they transfer stacks of it to a random nearby enemy. And because I get no luck, it went to Matron Brindle rather than the dogs. And I don't even realise this until I think in a couple of seconds that, whoa, look at the damage going on the tank. It's crazy. And that's because these Soul Effigy stacks are giving her like a crazy amount of haste and a crazy amount of damage. It's like 40% extra damage, 40% extra haste. As soon as I realise it, I start hitting the Dispel button and get rid of it. It can be dispelled. I've got 2 Dispels because I have a Bloodlust pet out for one of the hunters, but the other 2 hunters have got Spirit Beasts out, which can dispel. Dispel that away, and as soon as this dispelled, look, Matron Brindle's no longer a problem. It kind of surprised me there. I was expecting, Matron Brindle, she's no problem. She does some damage to the tank. The Blood Death Knight is great. We're going to see a great example of why I love the Blood Death Knight in a moment, by the way. But the Blood Death Knight perfectly happy to handle the damage going out there. And I pull Soulbound Goliath. I should not have pulled Soulbound Goliath. Look at the healer's mana, it's way too low. This is literally because I just wiped, and I think I've still got a chance to make the key, and I'm just trying to push as hard as I can. Should not have done that. That's actually going to cause a little bit of a problem towards the second half of the fight. This is a nice, simple fight. The boss is doing a large amount of single target damage, and the single target damage ramps up and up and up until you drag him into a fire pool. What I'm doing here is I'm desperately trying to find a fire pool. I don't want to pull him back into the rectangular area previous because I don't want to aggro Matron Alma through the floor again. I'm terrified of that. So I'm desperately trying to find one, and eventually I find one. I'm not getting much luck here. Not much lightning spawning there. There's a nice little fire there, but I've run away from it because it's not time for it yet. The idea sort of here is that every time you pull him through the fire, it's a big burst of AoE damage, so you have to take the time for the healer to get him back up, which is a little bit of a problem because the healer's out of mana here. So you see not quite all the rejuvenates are going out here. And ideally I want to do that regularly. Here, he's gone up to 18 stacks, and the tank is taking a lot of damage here. Now I'm panicking, and I move back into the rectangular area, eventually find that thing. Haven't realised that a lightning bolt has gone off just behind me there. Number one, I shouldn't have dragged the entire team that way. Second, I should have been aware of that fire there and not dragged him into the second fire. 2 bursts of AoE go off, and because the Druid isn't healing as much as he should, because he's run out of mana, somebody dies. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. Like, I could happily... It's not even like, oh, I just managed to finish the fight. Oh, I was really lucky that he was on low health. No, I could have carried that on. It would have been a lot slower, of course, having lost a DPS, and I've got to waste some time now. But that was a reasonably comfortable fight, in spite of the fact that I should have drunk before the fight to get the healer back on mana, and in spite of the fact that I got pretty unlucky on the lightning strikes. It would have been nice for like one to turn up in that moment where I got to like 20 stacks. Right, the trash in here is really annoying on Sanguine Weeks. The corridor is really narrow, and the Sanguine pools cause massive problems. Also, the trash packs are all really close together, and it's very easy to chain pull them accidentally, and they actually do quite a lot of damage. This is arguably the worst trash in the dungeon. Arguably. There's maybe a pull later on that is a bit tricky as well, but just the tank damage coming out here is quite high. So if you pull multiple packs, you have a problem. There might be some CC chain that I should be doing that would enable me to do this faster, but frankly with the Sanguine pulls, given like all this like sort of cleave healing when things die before I've had a chance to pull them out again, I don't think chain pulling actually speeds it up a huge deal. So I'm being very patient here. Pull them into the nice open space, kill them in a space where the Sanguine pools I don't have any problems with. Oh, look how tanky everything is on +6. I pull these Devouring Maggots here, once again. Devouring Maggots have an ability called Infest. When Infest goes off, it causes a debuff on the character that they cast it on. Look, there I interrupt it. When the debuff expires, 3 more Devouring Maggots pop out. And they can cast Infest as well, so you have to kill these as a priority. I let one infest me a little earlier on. Aurora Shot almost dies there because he's standing in a fire and I don't notice. I can upgrade my setup to fix that. I should do. Again, I don't need to kill these guys, but there's a high chance that I'll accidentally aggro them. Both that pack of Devouring Maggots and these pig guys. There's a really high chance that I'll accidentally pull them if I don't take them out. And as I mentioned earlier, I need to kill trash. Look, we are most of the way through the dungeon now, and I'm 41% of the way. There aren't that many trash packs downstairs. There's a good chunk of trash downstairs, don't get me wrong, but there aren't that many downstairs. So I really do need to kill some trash. These guys cause me problems, so it's just a nice convenient pack to kill to build up those that percentage. The damage is partially the high melee hits, that's one thing, but these pig guys are also doing an ability called Wretch that I need to sidestep with the tank. I'm obviously trying to keep the trash away from the party as much as I can because of the sanguine pools and just generally being a good idea. But another reason why it would be good to do that, even if there wasn't sanguine, is because the Wretch cast does is a frontal cone. I want to sidestep with the tank, and I don't want it anywhere near the rest of the party. These revelers aren't even elite, so they go down pretty quickly. Yeah, once again, just distributing those pools nice and nicely. I don't want to pull those with something else because the sanguine pools, they will die way earlier than the other things. Something weird's happened there. One of the hunters just dashed off of his own accord there. Not sure what causes that. Would love to know. It causes me a problem here as suddenly Judgment Bolt isn't where I think he's going to be, and I'm suddenly like, oh, wait a second, hang on, he's about to stand in the AoE. That's not good. So I think I have to manually control him in a second and pull him back. Yeah. Not sure what little glitch that was. Doesn't make me happy. The Banquet Steward is the new mob we pulled here. He's got Dinner Bell. It's really simple. Causes a burst of damage and a silence. It's not a huge deal, but you can just interrupt it or move out of it. These Pallid Gorges and these gore-stained piglets do quite a bit of tank damage if you let them. Look at this Wretch ability, sidestep. But in small numbers like this, not a huge problem for me. This guy's going to go down. But of course, it's Fortified Week, so he's going to take forever to do so. There we go. Down goes Piggy. Right, I now decide that I've cleared enough from the inner area so that I can safely move into this area without accidentally pulling extra trash when I do my pulls here. So I'm gonna, just to speed up a little bit, I'm gonna pull my next pack into this little anti-area. I do not want them to die in that doorway, so I'm gonna pull them to this doorway, and I'm gonna try and kill them here. Again, the principle is I want the sanguine pools to form in a place where I'm not going to be walking. It slows you down considerably to have to dodge around these things, and it means that I can't pull another pack through this area. I have to move into the room. I really don't want to, even if this wasn't sanguine, as I mentioned, I think, even if this wasn't sanguine, I would still be pulling the guys into here. I probably wouldn't be pulling them into the outdoors area, but I would still be pulling them into this area. The reason being, it's very, very easy to accidentally pull the boss when you take out the trash packs in here. Look, the boss is actually very close to the trash packs. You definitely want to pull them away. What I'm going to do here, and this I think is a little bit of a mistake because I've forgotten about this witch here that's about to spawn. I go in here and I take out these devouring maggots. Again, I know not only do I need the percentage, but also I know I'm going to have to go through this area anyway, so I'm going to have to clear this trash, and I might as well clear it now. I have plenty of times accidentally pulled this trash while fighting Rahl, so if I get it out the way now, that's not going to happen. The Rune Weaver causes me a little bit more problem, and the positioning of those sanguine pools a little bit nastier. I probably could have handled that a little bit better if I'd have used Gorfine's grabs to pull them all into a corner, or pull the devouring magnets way out the room. Take a little bit longer, but it perhaps would have been the strategy. But it's not a mistake that cost me very much. I mean, I think it feels like a mistake because I take quite a lot of tank damage there, but realistically that was actually just fine. Right, now I need to sort out the rest of this trash. I'm looking at that room and I'm thinking that's a bit nasty. I noticed that the healer's low on mana, so I get him. I really should have been doing that the entire time. I really need to get a keybind set up for drink. Really, in Battle for Azeroth, the healers use a lot more mana. They just use a lot more mana going out of mana. Much faster. It's now really quite important to have a nice big stack of water, and actually every time the tank ran in and went and got some mobs, the healer should have been drinking. It's incredibly cheap to buy just like a stack of water from like the tavern in Borealis. There's no reason not to be drinking, and yeah, all that mana adds up, if anything, so that if it's like free time when the healer's not doing anything anyway, not moving anywhere, you should be drinking, because it's going to be that little less time that I don't have to spend drinking in front of a boss at some point. Handle this reasonably well. Maybe I can pull these guys out of the sanguine pools a bit faster. What I really should be doing, and I do it a couple of times throughout this run, I haven't highlighted it yet, is as one of these mobs is about to die, stun it and then run away so that the guy is left standing there and he dies and the sanguine pools form, but everybody else is pulled out of it. Just stops that little bit of healing. I'm finding it getting a bit awkward here because I can't find a place to stack this guy. I back right into this corner and he manages to hunker into this location. Stun him to try and stop him moving. He occasionally dashes that way. Wretch comes out, dodge it, and try and push him back. And he dies. Excellent. Right. Roll. Roll has been changed recently. He now does his like vomit attack less often, but he does his other attacks more often, and he has been given way more hit points. On this difficulty, he would have used to have had about 2.4 mil. Now he's got about 2.7 mil. It's a big wodge of damage now. He's got more hit points than I think any other dungeon boss now, apart from Vitgoth, but that's an obvious exception. So, I don't think I've got the strategy down here. What happens is, after that initial vomit comes out, I move the guys back, but I don't really have a strong play for this Tenderize. I should have the entire team a bit closer, really. I'm just very worried about them standing in those pools. I'm trying to move them out of the Tenderize, but it's just not working. I have to aspect to the turtle there. This is a bit messy, and now I'm playing from behind. Also, for some reason, Judgment Bolt's got himself stuck in a corner again, so, you know, where to go. It's getting a little bit chaotic and not controlled. I would like to come up with a nice controlled strategy here. You can see the wasting servants are now approaching. I really need to switch towards this. I should sort out a macro to automatically target those guys so that I don't have to waste valuable attention and effort. You can see that while I've been worrying about targeting those guys, I lose focus on the healing. What I should have done is I should have used my healing click bar up there, and I just needed to left click on Aurora Shot, and the healer would have done something. That's all it would have taken. I'm now really playing from behind. Notice that, hey, you know earlier when I pulled those devouring maggots because I was worried I was going to pull them in the middle of the boss? One of the things that's caused the big problem here is, look, I've pulled some devouring maggots from outside the room. No idea when that happened. Didn't even see it. I've watched this back a couple of times now. I've never seen where those devouring maggots came from. Look, they've caused sanguine pools on the floor. Thankfully, it does not heal the boss, but the damage is done now. I've taken far too much damage. I was kind of just playing from behind the entire time, and I wipe. Not my finest moment. What could I have done better? Perhaps, and actually this is not a terrible idea at all. Perhaps what I should have done is I should have pulled those devouring magnets and wiped them out before the thing. I think the door is open before you pull the boss. If it's not, then I suppose I would have been a waste of time to go around. But something we're going to discover later is that I actually don't kill enough trash. I end up finishing the final boss and don't have enough trash. I tried to mount up there for some reason. I don't kill enough trash, so it wouldn't have wasted any time for me to have gone and killed those devouring maggots so they don't get pulled mid-fight. In addition, my positioning could have been better. I should have been close to the boss. I suspect I should need to get a setup here where the tank stays very close to the boss, maybe interacting with targets so he sticks to the boss really well, and now I drive from the healer and have the healer move everything around. Another thing that's occurred to me, I'm not sure whether this will work on Tyrannical or not, is before the fight, position everybody around the room not in a stack. Yes, a bunch of guys will just take damage from Tenderize. I'm talking about, like, yeah, literally spread out across the room and don't, like, move at all. You'll still take damage from Tenderize, but if you move people out of the pools individually, because it's only one person taking damage from Tenderize each time, I think you'd be fine. Here, I take a big burst of damage like before, but this time I respond to it in a much more comfortable way. I use Tranquility, and this time I get quite lucky. I need to do a little bit of investigation, because can I replicate this behaviour? Because that was really good. With everybody like parked to the side, I was able to just move the tank back and forth, and that worked really well. Here, I really should be using Gorfine's Grasp to get the bile oozlings off the stack, or at least chuck a Death Decay out there. It would have caused the wasting interactions with the wasting servants here, but that wouldn't have been so bad. I clear out the wasting servants quite well. That positioning I have there against the wall, that is working a lot better. Sadly this time, I think I'm trying to replicate what I did before, and I get lucky there, and he goes for the tank. But look, it doesn't always happen on the tank. It goes there, and that causes some damage. Now, if I still had Aspect of the Turtle up, then I should have used it there to survive. I actually don't know whether I had it on cooldown or not. I know I used it on the previous fight. Does it reset? Probably does. At this point, I'm looking there, and I've had 2 people die, and this is looking like a terrible dungeon run now. This is just getting embarrassing. This is looking very much like a wipe. Look, still 50% of his hit points left, 2 DPS down. I've not got the DPS to deal with the wasting servants, so I'm just letting him eat them, taking the damage, trying to do enough damage to survive. Tenderize is going off. Again, it's a nightmare to move around. Now, look, got them close to the boss, and I'm able to get him to dodge. I just think that everyone needs to be positioned a lot closer to the boss. Perhaps the idea is that you stand back so that the pools of rubbish spawn towards the back of the room, and then you move forward after them so that when Tenderize comes in you can do that. I don't know. I pull a bottle oozling off there. Still, at this point, literally what's going through my head is, should I just wipe? Like, is this just a complete waste of time? The healer's doing a really good job of keeping people up here. I switched to the hunter and manually use exhilaration because I don't have a keybind for it because I'm really bad at this game. Now, I'm getting lucky here. Look, he's going just for the tank. I really want to know how you can control these tenderizes. Is it random? Is he like going for the closest target? Or is he going for like the highest health target or something? I don't know. Like, what is causing him to target there? Because when he just targets the tank, that is super easy. The healer eventually goes down, not handling the bile oozlings very well. They all just zerg onto the healer. Now, look at this. If people now ask me, like, which tank should I use for my multiboxing team? Whichever tank you want. It's not important. However, this is the sort of thing a Blood Death Knight could do. This Blood Death Knight's got no healer, and with Death Strike, he's managing to stay up remarkably. My last DPS goes down, and there's still 10% left, and it looked like I was about to die there. Death Strike. Anti-magic shield comes off cooldown just in time to give me a little bit of leverage there. I go into purgatory, so my extra life is gone now, but Death Strike nice and out of it. Because I'm taking so much damage here, each Death Strike is healing for a huge amount. This is... This was quite a stressful moment. There's no strategy here. There's just desperately trying to not stand in stuff while madly trying to hit Death Strike off cooldown. I have quite a bit of haste. I've geared for haste here, and you can really see how much self-healing a Death Knight that's stacked up haste can do. I think my global cooldowns got down to about 1.3 seconds, which is nothing in Legion terms, but it's starting to get to a reasonable thing, a reasonable whack now. And look, I actually managed, in spite of the fact that 2 guys died and it looked pretty miserable before 50%, I managed to get him down. It was slower than it needed to be. I try and use my goblin knife, but doesn't, so I have to run all the way. Obviously, with that wipe and with that slow kill and with the wipe before, the timer's dead now. Yeah, that was a messy fight. And I think the thing that goes through my head then and goes through my head now is, whoa, I would not have succeeded on that in Tyrannical. Roll is the new Roll. Old Roll used to be quite an easy fight. New Roll is a lot harder. I still think Heartsbane Tried is harder. Just that damage is quite a lot. But for Heartsbane Tried, I've got a solid strategy. I need to work out a strategy for this guy. That works a bit more reliably. As I kind of mentioned a couple of times, if we can somehow figure out, is it completely random which character he chooses to aim the tenderizers at? Is there some way that we can make it the tank every time? Because if there is some way of controlling that, then you can just have the entire party off at a side and the tank can bob and weave, and that would be really easy, and that would make the fight simpler. As I said, my other potential strategy, I'll try it out this week, is to spread the entire party around the room, and yeah, they take tenderizes, but hey, no problem. I can set up a little weak aura that will hover over my click bar to sort out, to show when they're standing in some of the green goop, and use it to switch to them quite quickly and move out. Yeah, this is... I'm quite tired when I'm doing this run. I make plenty of mistakes, and one of them is that I'm not paying enough attention to the healing. I've got my healing set up so that the Resto Druid is doing a lot of the work just by rolling the mouse wheel up, which is kind of what I do. I have a mouse wheel that kind of acts as my motor that runs a bunch of ISboxer hotkeys that kind of run everybody individually, and the healer's got a sort of a combination of keys that he mashes in an order that does stuff. The casting swift mend and stuff, that is all done automatically. You can see that, like, when I click on one of my character's health bars, you can see that it gets highlighted in green. That's an ISboxer click bar. That means that everybody is focused that character, and any healing effects that I push are going to happen on that. I think that's a really good way to handle healing in a Trinity team. Nice and simple. Rather than having to target every individual here, just target who needs dealing with and do it. You can see here, here's Matron Alma. We get a revenge on her. She effectively killed us from the bottom floor before. Here, she's nice and simple when you get her by herself. Spread out so that I take not so much damage from the unstable runic mark. Clearer. I have a little hesitation here. Look, can you see the hesitation in my movement? Yeah, look at that hesitation there. Look, hesitate, hesitate. I'm thinking, should I kill these guys? I know that I don't have enough percentage. I decided not to. Partially because I know I'm not going to make the timer, so I just want to get on with the boss. It's actually not the end of the world if you end this dungeon without the thing. You might think, oh, I've got to, but you've got to walk all the way back up here. You don't. As soon as the last boss dies, you can talk to Lucille and it'll teleport you to the front, at which point all the doors are open and you can go into some areas that you didn't have to go through before and clear out some trash there. I'm actually not sure it's the correct decision here, because the door that opened that I didn't have to go through is the area with all the hunters in, and that's a nightmare. This is a slightly nasty set of trash just because the space is quite limited, particularly on Sanguine weeks. You obviously have a problem with the Sanguine pools. I'm trying my best to kill these things. Like in a position where the sanguine pools aren't going to cause problems in a second. I definitely don't want any sanguine pools to go in the boss area, because I don't want to have to wait for the pools to disappear before I take on the boss. I need all of that area to take on this boss. I really don't want to have to worry about, oh, I've got to position people in places where they're not going to accidentally run into sanguine pools. Handling this relatively well. I'm desperately trying not to move back here to not pull the witch behind me, but then when she uses the candles, I'm kind of forced to. It's either that or move into the boss area, which, as mentioned, I don't want to do. It's not a big deal. The soul essences, I literally, the soul essence has cast a spell called Scar Soul. I don't know what it does. I assume it's a burst of damage, but it just seems to tickle a random DPS. I interrupt it sometimes, but I have no idea what the problem with not doing it. Soul Fetish, stop that. That's the ability so that when she dies, she passes the buff that got passed on upstairs. That caused all the problems upstairs. Yeah, look, I'm just going to let this go on. What did that do? They're not very threatening. They're also not worth very much percentage, which is unfortunate. Okay, Lord and Lady Waycrest. Lord and Lady Waycrest is a reasonably easy fight. Most of the fights in here are quite easy. R'hll I don't have a strategy for, and Heartsbane is quite a tough fight, but all the other ones are really manageable. Gorak Tul is probably the easiest fight in the entire expansion. I am going to let the healer drink because I'm not making the same mistake twice. So, I group everybody up, and we begin wailing on Lord Waycrest. The Wasted Strike comes in, and that does a bunch of damage, and I use Death Strike every time that comes out, and that helps the thing. When Virulent Pathogen comes out, I then use my spread hotkey to spread everybody out. I then position the tank in the center, and then I click follow again once the thing has expired. When this comes out, I run around like a headless chicken. This is where Beast Mastery Hunters show how good they are, because I need to do damage here. If I'm not doing damage, I'm not progressing the boss. The boss needs to die before I die. I cannot sustain this forever. There's quite a bit of movement in this fight, both from the Virulent Pathogen goes off, and I need to spread, and they're moving. If I'm using something like Warlocks that can't cast on the move, Destruction Warlocks, then I can't do this. I'm going to be doing way less damage. Beast Mastery Hunters producing a solid 8.5k damage quite consistently. And there isn't really anything to this. Lady Waycrest, when she comes in, I do need to taunt her. what I think is happening here is that Lady Waycrest, in spite of the fact that she's not in melee range, still has an aggro table during the fight. So the healer is just picking up tons of aggro. If you do not taunt Lady Waycrest when she materializes in the fight area, she goes on the healer, and if you don't notice that, the healer will die. So just taunting us makes it nice and easy. Now, once Lord Waycrest has died, it's just patchwork. Nothing's going to happen here. I have literally no idea what Racking Cord does. I've never let it go off. It's probably just a bunch of damage. Great. Nice, easy fight. Nice, easy to replicate. Really consistent. No RNG strategy. Where if you just execute really well, then you're fine. If you screw up one virulent pathogen, you're screwed, and it's like over. If you don't handle that, you will get punished. But as long as you execute the fight well, you're fine. I like fights like that. The Gloom Horrors, I push up here. I spread out because they randomly dash to a random character and do area effect damage, a bit like the little raptors in Atal Dazar. I pull them up here because obviously managing the Sanguine debuff in the downstairs area is a little bit of a nightmare. I think in the +5 run that I did immediately before this, that I did in time, I was pushing against it. I think I had 4 minutes left on the timer at this stage, and I'm going, and I dive in there, and I didn't wipe or anything, but it was just a little bit awkward handling the Sanguine debuffs in there, so I learnt my lesson. Pull them up this time. What am I going to do here? I actually can't remember. I think I decide, I hesitate there. I think, do I go down here? Nope. So I'm just going to go and, I'm going to go and death grip these up here. It's not worth the hassle of managing the Sanguine debuff down there. There's such little area, space to go, and because, particularly, it's those dashes that are awkward. If it was just like I could position them behind the thing, and that would be fine. It's the fact that they dash, and if they accidentally die when they dash to somebody, then you accidentally cause a Sanguine thing underneath, like, your entire party. Supremely unhelpful. Just move out of the way so it doesn't ruin through the Sanguine pool there. It goes down. Wow, everything takes a long time to kill on Fortified +6. Like a long time to kill. Gear is going to help this. I hope gear is going to help this. What's not going to help this is in 4 hours' time, as of this video, Beast Mastery Hunters are going to get nerfed by 5%. That's not going to help me. But gear will help to be able to blow through these keys a little bit faster. I think keys like this one, in say 3 weeks' time, I'll expect that I'll have put on, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't guess, but maybe I'll have put on like 10-15 item levels in 3 weeks. Something like that. I suspect that I'll be blowing through keys like this, not trivially. Not like it was a normal lunge or anything, but I think I'll be able to reasonably comfortably handle this, because an awful lot of the time in this, if I added up all the time, okay, so there was some time lost on things like Ral, but a lot of it was just trash. It just takes a long time to kill it on Fortified weeks. I'm expecting Tyrannical weeks to be harder to execute. The bosses are clearly difficult for multi-boxes to pull off, but I'm expecting the timer to be much easier to make. Maybe I'll be wrong, maybe right. I do drink before this boss pull. I probably don't need to. Gorektul is the easiest boss in the thing. It's so easy to execute. Switch to the ad, pick up the thing, burn it. When the second one comes out, the second guy comes out as he casts Dread Essence, so don't focus on him immediately, but as soon as that happens, switch to him. Dread Essence does heal the ads. You can see the power of the Spirit Beast there. Bright Shot, the hunter, got targeted by the cast that the ad does there. Death Lens, and went quite low, and then the Spirit Beast all jumped in and healed him. Great. The Druid was doing some stuff as well, but the big burst of healing that meant that it was completely comfortable. Was those Spirit Beasts, and yet another reason why Beast Mastery Hunters, fantastic, just such a solid choice for a Trinity team this expansion. And this just repeats. There's not really much to say here. Kill the ad, run over and go grab the the flask of fire. burn the thing before Dread Essence goes off. Repeat. There's no movement requirements. As long as you interrupt the cast that Dark Correct Tool does, the Dark and Lightning, it doesn't matter that everybody's stacked. And even if I let it go off there, and look, everybody took a burst of damage. It's not a huge amount of damage, even on Tyrannical. Tyrannical, 40% more hit points, only 15% more damage. It's not like, ooh, on Tyrannical you wouldn't have been able to do that. No, I'd have been fine on Tyrannical as well. Don't quite get it in time there. But it doesn't matter, he's about to die anyway. I suppose the only thing that could go wrong here is like if you screw up the Death Slaver, like the ads. Like if you've got more than one, then you could end up taking a lot of damage there, but it's easy to manage. So yeah, go and talk to Lucille there, and you can teleport to the front. Now I made the mistake on my +5 run. I also didn't finish the trash in my +5 run, and I decided to go into the Hunter's Chambers because I knew there was a lot of trash in there, and I knew, it's tough trash, but I'll see what happens. I end up screwing up. I end up leaving one of them accidentally, somebody accidentally downstairs, somebody got trapped in some seed, so I'm like on the back foot, and whoa, that trash is a nightmare. The traps that get left just literally one-shot you. So I decide, nope, not going to do that again. I didn't kill any of the guys up here. What 10% should I have killed? I probably shouldn't have done this. This is probably a delay. It would have been faster to do it on the way. What should I have killed? I probably should have killed, if it was possible to do so, I'll have to check, that trash on Ral that kind of contributed towards the wipe, that accidentally ended up getting pulled in the middle of the fight. That would have made Ral a bit more safe. Maybe what I could have done if you can't get around there is just clear out that entire corridor. Just makes the entire thing a little bit more safe. It's not as if any of this trash matters, because it's all down paths that I never had to travel down. Perhaps I should have done the trash in the cellar when I'd had that little hesitation moment. I should have killed the trash in the cellar. That is probably about 7% in the cellar, and I could have easily got 3% from the area in Ral's area. That would have done it and just made this a little bit cleaner, but it's not the end of the world if you go downstairs and you've misjudged the amount of trash, because it's reasonably quick to teleport up as long as you don't screw it up like I did the previous time. Disappointingly, that ain't enough, so I've got to go further on. There's probably somewhere else I could have gone to go and find trash here. It spawns a witch when you come out here. The vine twisters do quite a bit of damage. You can see immediately I go in on the druid, and the druid goes down low, and then the spirit beasts come to the rescue. The spirit beasts really help out. The druid has got a really good healing profile for sustained area damage over time, even when the entire group is spread out. That's great, and can respond to surge of damage, but isn't great at it. Single target healing over time can do that quite well. Not the best healer at responding to surge of damage. One way of mitigating that is having the spirit beasts. They really help. Oh look, 1% left. Just while I'm cleaning this up, there's nothing really of any note to talk about here. I'm just going to go and kill a single trash mob somewhere, and that's going to finish the dungeon. This was an okay run. I obviously made mistakes. As I say, like, it's now, what, 3 in the morning as I'm doing this. I'm kind of glad that I didn't make the timer, because if I made the timer I'd have felt obliged to do the +7 key. And I wouldn't have slept. I'd be shattered the day after. Yeah, I made some mistakes. I panicked in the Trash Before Soulbound Goliath. Ral, I just don't have a strategy for. Should have done better. A couple of the bosses, actually, Soulbound Goliath, I was a bit unlucky, but I would have done that regardless. Heartsbane Coven, I needed to manage. Oh, I hate when it looks up like this. Oh, yeah, it's because it's displaying the graph. Heartsbane Coven, yeah, is... would I have managed the Heartsbane Coven on Tyrannical? Probably not. I need to be a bit cleverer with my management of the healing cooldowns there. I think that's quite important. I think making sure that the personal survivability cooldowns, like the whatever it is it's called that the Beast Mastery Hunters get when they have the Spirit Beasts out, I need that on a keybind. There's lots of things to sort of like tweak with this. I think the basic functionality of this team is quite good. I think that there are lots of little bits and pieces I just need to tweak a little bit. You want to see the loot? Let's see the loot. Nothing for the Druid. Like I've clearly got something better than that. I think it ends up going to somewhere. And then some boots. I've got so many belts and I've got so many boots in 355. A little bit underwhelming. However, well, it's a completion. That was Waycrest Manor.